You send us down some really interesting rabbit holes with the material you share. Today we're going to zoom in on a word that popped up in a few of your sources, a word with a real punch, fervent.
Exactly. Yeah, think of this as like your personalized exploration of the single powerful word.
Okay.
We're going to look at what it truly means, where it comes from, and, how we actually use it in conversation.
Right.
The goal is just to give you a deeper understanding without having to sift through all the background yourself.
Precisely. And we've got a great set of tools for this deep dive. We'll be using the straightforward definitions and usage examples from Merriam-Webster.
Yep, the basics.
Tracing its origins with Etymonline, which is always fascinating.
All this good stuff there.
And maybe even touching on how it functions in writing, thanks to some insights from the Journal of Language and Linguistic Studies. So, fervent. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. So, starting with the foundational meaning, right? The definitions from Merriam-Webster, they give us two main senses. The first one, you might encounter it less often today, is very hot glowing. And they give the example, the fervent sun. It really evokes that image, doesn't it? Intense radiating heat.
That image of a scorching sun, yeah, that definitely hits you. But I think the meaning that really springs to mind for most of us is probably the second one.
The more common one.
Exhibiting or marked by great intensity of feeling zealous.
Exact.
And Merriam-Webster gives us some compelling examples here. Fervent prayers.
Right.
A fervent proponent.
Yeah.
And fervent patriotism. You can almost feel the strength of emotion in those phrases, can't you?
Absolutely. That sense of just profound, almost burning enthusiasm or dedication. That's what we typically connect with fervent.
Yeah.
It suggests a really powerful internal feeling that then gets expressed outwardly. And it's worth noting the related adverb form, fervently, which carries that same sense of, intense action, doing something fervently.
Okay, so we've got the core meanings down. Heat and intense feeling. Now, to really kind of wrap our heads around the nuances of fervent, it's helpful to see the company it keeps, right? The other words that share some of its meaning.
Yeah, the synonyms. And Merriam-Webster provides a really extensive list. It's quite something.
Oh, yeah.
They list ardent, blazing, burning, charged, demonstrative, emotional, fervid, feverish, fiery, flaming, glowing.
Wow.
Hot-blooded, impassioned, incandescent, intense, passionate, perfervid, red-hot, religious, superheated, torrid, vehement, warm-blooded.
Phew, that's quite a range just listening to that list.
Yeah.
Are there any connections that particularly jump out at you?
Well, what's fascinating, I think, is the spectrum. You have words directly related to physical heat, like blazing, glowing, red hot.
Right, the first definition.
Exactly. But then you also have words describing these really deep emotional states, like impassioned, vehement, zealous, obviously, and even a term like religious, which in certain contexts definitely implies a kind of fervent devotion.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just really underscores that fervent isn't just like a casual liking. It's much more intense, kind of an all-encompassing feeling.
It's like turning the volume way, way up on an emotion, isn't it?
Totally.
It makes you wonder, okay, where did this word with such a strong sense of intensity actually come from?
That's a great question. And for that, we turn to Etymonline. They're great for tracing the history, the story behind words.
Okay, so hit us with it. What's the origin story of fervent?
All right, so Etymonline tells us that fervent popped up in English in the late 14th century.
Okay, quite old.
Yeah. It came from Old French, the word fervent, which itself came directly from the Latin word fervens.
Fervens.
Fervent. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Fervens is the present participle of the Latin verb fervere.
Fervere means?
It means to boil, be hot, glow, and also figuratively seethe with passion.
Ah, there it is.
Right. So you can see that direct line connecting the literal sensation of boiling heat and the figurative sense of intense emotion right there in its roots.
That's such a vivid connection. From physically boiling and glowing to this idea of seething with passion. It makes perfect sense when you think about it.
It really does.
That feeling of really strong emotion, it can almost feel like a physical heat building up inside you sometimes.
Exactly. Language does that all the time, uses these physical metaphors for inner experiences. And this etymology really highlights that core sense of intensity that's been part of fervent from the very beginning.
Okay, so we have a good handle on what fervent means. Its roots in boiling and heat. Now let's look at how we actually see this word being used, today.
Right, contemporary usage. Merriam-Webster gathers some examples of fervent in sentences. This was as of April 9th, 2025.
Okay.
And these examples are so valuable because they give us that real-world snapshot. The word in action, taken from various online sources, shows how it's actually functioning.
Right. And looking through them, what struck me was just how versatile it is. You might read about someone being a fervent supporter of a cause or maybe a political candidate.
Yeah, classic example.
And that immediately tells you about their strong commitment. It's not just mild support.
Precisely. Or you might encounter phrases like fervent hopes for the future.
Oh, yeah.
Which conveys that deep, really earnest longing. It often pairs with abstract nouns, doesn't it? Beliefs, hopes, ideals, to really amplify the strength of that feeling.
And it's not limited just to abstract concepts either. You also see it describing people and their actions directly.
Yeah.
Someone might deliver a fervent speech.
Yes.
And that tells you not just that they spoke, but how they spoke. With passion, with conviction.
Yes, and that ties right back to that idea we talked about, that the outward expression of that intense inner feeling.
Mm-hmm.
A fervent speech isn't just conveying information, it's delivered with an emotion that's meant to resonate, maybe even move the audience.
It really seems like fervent adds this significant layer of intensity, and maybe sincerity too, to whatever it's describing.
I think so.
It's not just saying someone is interested, it's saying they're deeply, passionately invested.
That's a crucial point, yeah. It elevates the feeling way beyond just interest or, mild enthusiasm. It signals strong commitment, profound feeling, whether it's about beliefs, desires, or actions.
Okay, so we've explored the definition, the history in boiling, and how we see it used today, like with supporters or hopes or speeches. It's kind of remarkable how much weight this single word carries.
It really is. That sense of burning intensity, both literally and figuratively.
And, having a deeper understanding of these nuances can really enrich your own vocabulary, I think, and sharpen your ability to perceive the intensity others are conveying.
Absolutely. It makes you a more tuned reader and listener.
Right. And this actually touches on something from that linguistic study we mentioned earlier, the one from the Journal of Language and Linguistic Studies.
Oh, yeah, the idea of boosters.
Exactly. They talk about how words like fervent can function as boosters in writing.
Can you unpack that a bit? What's a booster in this context?
So basically, boosters are words writers use to increase the strength of their claims, to show they're really committed to what they're saying, engaged with it.
Ah, okay. So it's like adding emphasis, showing conviction.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Words like clearly, obviously, definitely, but also strong adjectives. This study actually listed a bunch.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, things like fascinating, fundamental, great, immense, intense, and you could easily see fervent fitting right in there.
Makes sense. It's a way to signal, I really believe this, or this is really important.
Exactly. The study looked at how native and non-native English speakers use these in academic articles and found, interestingly, that native speakers tended to use a wider variety of these booster words.
Huh. That's interesting. Any idea why?
Well, they suggested it might relate to cultural differences in sort of how direct or assertive you're expected to be in academic writing, and they advised writers to aim for a balance. Don't overuse them, don't underuse them.
Right, finding that sweet spot. Too much boosting can sound maybe unprofessional, too little might seem unconvincing.
Yeah, exactly. So fervent in that academic context could be one of those tools for adding strong emphasis, but you'd want to use it carefully.
Okay, that adds another layer to the word. It's not just about the meaning, but how it functions rhetorically.
Right. So to sort of wrap this all up for you, our listener, fervent. It primarily signifies that great intensity of feeling, that zeal.
Though it started with heat, literally boiling.
Right. Don't forget the glowing sun. It traces back to Latin fervere, boiling and seething. And we see it today describing strong support, deep hopes, passionate action.
And even functioning as a booster to add weight to claims in writing.
Exactly. It's a concise way to communicate a really profound level of intensity.
A lot packed into one word.
Definitely. So here's something to maybe mull over. How does understanding the subtle power, the different facets of a word like fervent, not only expand your vocabulary, but maybe deepen your awareness of how we express and interpret strong emotions?
Yeah, and maybe even how assertiveness is signaled differently, perhaps across cultures.
Good point. Pay attention to how this word and all those synonyms we listed, how they pop up in what you read, what you hear.
Does it give you a new appreciation for the level of intensity being conveyed?
It's a small word, but as we've discovered, it's pretty packed with meaning.
Absolutely.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.